Hi everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. I have the two of the most beautiful cars in the world right behind me. They're both Lexus LC 500. This is a 2025 version. This is a 2024 version. This is the one I own. This is a press car for this week. And there has been some minor changes for 2025, so I'll talk about that. But more than that, I want to actually compare two nearly identical LC 500 to see if I can spot any difference in terms of production quality, manufacturing quality, driving feel, and so forth, because consistency has been the hallmark of Lexus. And I want to know, if I were to compare two Lexus LC 500 that are almost identical side by side, whether I will notice any difference in terms of production, manufacturing quality, or driving character. So let me talk to you about the 2024 versus 2025, but also compare these two models in general, and let's see if I can spot differences. Let's go. Welcome back. So I am now inside the 2025 model of the Lexus LC 500, so I can point out to you a little bit of differences between this compared to 2024. I'm also going to talk about the difference between the Inspiration Series and other LC 500, because that's kind of interesting and notable as well. So I don't know whether Lexus will introduce the Inspiration Series for 2025, but usually they have some kind of special edition each year, so I expect to hear some kind of limited models by the spring time frame. But for 2024, which is the one I have, they had the special color, exclusive color called a Polar Surge Satin color, which is essentially a matte white color. And who knows what the 2025 Inspiration Series might have in terms of exterior color if they decide to bring that out. But mine was extremely limited number. There's only 125 made for North America, of which only 10 came to Canada, of which 6 were convertible, if I remember correctly, and only 4 were coupes, which means there's only 4 of my type of car in entire Canada for 2024 model year. So I feel really flattered and very thankful and blessed to have owned that car right now. But coming back to 2025, they made some changes, including some additional Alcantara in the dash area, which seems to be here and here. And I have that already on the Inspiration Series, but it wasn't standard on the standard base Lexus LC 500, so they added that. They also added some bracing in the front and back, which means that they added some reinforcement to improve structural rigidity front and back. And that wouldn't translate to direct handling, but if you're on a track or you're driving really aggressively, you'll notice some difference when you turn really quickly, because the entire body would not flex as much. So they made that also standard on the 2025. And they made some other changes, such as color. The exterior colors have been revised somewhat, including the fact that they brought back the iridium color, which wasn't available for a number of years. So they made some changes in terms of combination of color outside and inside. But other than that, the two vehicles are identical. But when I hop into the Inspiration Series, I explained to you that this particular version actually has few options that are not available on the Inspiration Series, and that seems to make a slightly difference in the feel when you drive in terms of steering feel. So I was surprised that there are actually noticeable difference driving that one versus this one. And again, I'll talk about that when I actually take both of them for a drive. And before I hop into my car, you can already tell that there hasn't been any change from 24 to 25, but there was a substantial change from 23 to 24, because they added the 12.3 inches infotainment system that is a touch panel, as opposed to what we used to have was a touchpad over here, which was really difficult to use. So big changes for that. Also, they updated the safety sense to 2.5 in 2024, and a bunch of other changes were made. So those are some of the things that happened about a year and a half ago. But as far as 2025 is concerned, very little change, except for some color and trim, and also price have gone up a little bit. And of course, the quality inside is fantastic as usual. Everything fits so tightly. The stitching, I mean, practically everything is hand built by the Motomachi craftsmen, who are called Takumi members. And you would know that because I talked about the factory for Lexus LC 500, and I'll include the link in the description below. But let's hop into the Inspiration Series just to show you what kind of differences you might notice. Alright, so I popped into my 2024 LC 500 Inspiration Series, which I'm really glad I purchased, because it has a one-of-a-kind color in terms of both exterior and interior. I talked about the exterior already, which is the Polar Surge Satin color. It's a matte with an actual clear coat on top, so it is matte, but it is protected. It's not like a raw paint. There is an actual clear coat on it. But in terms of interior, they call it deep blue, but in the Lexus Europe press release, they call it Kachi Iro, which in Japanese means the winning color. And this is sort of like in the samurai days when they won the war, when they won something, they celebrate by having this deep indigo blue color, which is deeper than purple, deeper than normal blue, but it's also not quite purple and it's not quite dark blue. I think it's a beautiful color, perhaps the best color I've seen so far in the LC500. I definitely like it compared to the kind of camel tan color in the 2025 LC500 I'm driving. But aside from that, there's no difference other than the 2025 has adopted some of these Alcantara finishes, like here and here, that migrated over to the 2025 as a standard equipment because they didn't have that in 2024 if it wasn't an Inspiration series. So you could have also added some of these features by ordering the bespoke model, which you can do again in 2025 and custom build your own LC500. But it's not like you get more performance, just that you can have a different combination of colors and trims in the features. In addition to the exclusive color, the Inspiration series also had some other features as standard. Most of it is part of the dynamic package or performance package, but for some reason, if you ordered the Inspiration series, we didn't get the four-wheel steering or rear wheel steering, where the rear wheels can steer a little bit, either in the same direction or different direction from the front wheels. And also we didn't get the variable steering ratio, which means when you turn the steering more and more, the ratio actually changes and turns even more. That is part of the performance package, which the 2025 has, but for some reason they did not have it on the 2024. So this one is almost identical to the 2025 performance package model, except it doesn't have the variable gear ratio steering, and also it doesn't have the four-wheel steering, but it does have the limited slip differential, which is torsion, as well as a performance damper that are part of the performance package. So it's really confusing in terms of exactly what the differences were between 2024 and 2024 Inspiration series and now 2025. But at the end of the day, does that translate into some differences in terms of driving feel? I'm going to tell you that in a second. But let's go back outside and compare the exterior quality to see if I can notice any difference at all between these two models, both built at the Motomachi factory in exclusive LC500 plant. And if you haven't watched that video yet, please go and watch that because it's a really interesting production system. But this was built a year before the 2025. And let's see if there are any differences. Okay, so I'm back outside, and what I'm going to attempt to do is to see if I notice any differences in terms of production quality as far as 2024 is concerned versus 2025. Both built in Motomachi factory, and I doubt very much I'm going to notice anything, but let's see. 3mm there, 3mm exactly, and that's the thing about the LC500, which is probably the best built car in the world. It's the consistency of the gap, and you can sort of see it's such a perfect alignment. I'll bet it's 3mm all the way, 3.2 there, and 3.2mm here as well. It's same on the other side when I measured earlier. Let's go this way, and I apologize for the noise in the background. There's some kind of construction going on. Yeah, 3mm there. Wait a minute, 2.8mm though. So this gap is actually a bit narrower on my Inspiration series. It just might be a hood adjustment. Yeah, this one is a little bit wider actually, which surprises me. Yeah, so actually it's tiny bit narrower on this one compared to that one, at least on that side, almost the same on this side. But I'll bet the rest are the same, which should be 3.2mm, 3.2mm here as well. So give or take same. I can run hands over here and do the same thing on the other side, and it's a perfect quality. On this car, because it's a shiny glossy clear coat, you can really see how deep the paint is and looks fantastic. This one of course a little harder to tell because it's a semi satin or matte finish, but both are absolutely beautiful color. I just don't like the Copper Crest. I'm really glad I have the Inspiration series. Any other differences between the two? Well, you'll see the canards over here that you don't get on this one. This was exclusive to the Inspiration series. Also, I get a blackout trim here, which you can get if you were to order the bespoke model for LC500. You can choose those dark accents. This is also dark chrome here. It's kind of satin finish over there. And if you keep on going this way, there are some other differences. Same tires, both Michelin performance tires, but the wheels are different, exclusive on the LC 500 Inspiration Series. You can order them as part of bespoke. And then the back, the biggest difference is that I have the carbon fiber wing, which wasn't available on the normal LC 500. Obviously carbon fiber roof, which is on the both sides. And this one has the retractable and movable rear wing that comes up at a high speed, but I don't have that on mine because it's a fixed rear wing. And I have the blacked out tail lamps here, all black here, whereas you get a chrome finish on the normal LC 500. Otherwise, basically identical between the normal LC 500 and Inspiration Series. And as I mentioned, the slight difference between 25 and 24 in terms of the additional bracing underneath. So let's take them both for a drive and see if I notice any difference, because this one has a variable gear ratio steering, this one does not. This one has 4-wheel steering, this one does not. Let's see if I can actually feel the difference. So first I'm taking a quick spin on my own LC500. It's the Inspiration Series, which means it has almost all of the performance package features, except it doesn't have a variable gear ratio and it doesn't have the 4-wheel steering. But otherwise it's identical between the 24 and 25 between these two models I'm driving. So of course the best part of this car isn't the steering feel, but it is the engine. So if I stop here for a second and I stop on it a little bit, that beautiful 5-liter V8 come to life. So this is the best part of it. And if I downshift a little bit, you can hear the downshifting as well. So just music to my ears, absolutely amazing engine. And the powertrain hasn't changed between the two. Both are still 5-liter V8 with a 10-speed automatic, and you know, it's the best part of these two vehicles because the engine is just so amazing. But I always complain that the steering feels too light on the LC500 on this particular model. So let's hop into the 2025, because I'm going to show you that they made some changes and the steering feel has actually improved. So let's hop in and see what happens. All right, so now I'm in the 2025 LC500. This is the Copper Crest exterior, camo tan interior, and this one has a performance package, so that means that it has the variable gear ratio steering, and also it has 4-wheel steering or rear wheel steering, where the rear tires move a little bit to provide a better accuracy when driving around corners. But more than that, it looks like they calibrated the steering a little bit, and the software has been revamped because the steering has a little bit more feedback and it's not as light as the one I have. So I'm really glad they made that change because it's a little bit more pleasant. As I mentioned a number of times in the past, my number one complaint with the 2024 LC500 is a lack of steering feel, is the fact that power steering is over boosted and there's just not enough sensation. Of course the engine is still beautiful and there's no complaint there, but the steering has not been the greatest strength of the LC500. And they made some improvements for 2025. It's a little bit more feedback. The steering feels a little bit more weighty, and maybe it's part of the variable gear ratio steering, maybe not, but it's definitely improved. So I'm really glad about that. The engine is still beautiful. If I step on it and downshift, you can still hear the beautiful sound. So obviously amazing powertrain, amazing 5-liter V8, and shockingly good exhaust sound. So those are the strengths that remain true for 2025, which is obviously the most important part of this LC500. So as I conclude the comparison of the 2024 versus 2025, what can I say? Well, first of all, it's not 100% apple-to-apple comparison because mine is the Inspiration Series and this one is not. But other than that, there aren't that many differences. I noticed a little bit of difference in terms of steering feel. This one has a little bit better feel on the steering, and maybe some of that is to do with the 4-wheel steering option that is on this particular car but not on my 24 Inspiration Series. And maybe the additional bracing they added makes a little bit of a difference. I doubt it though. So other than those minor differences, the LC500 is identical for 2025 versus 24. It's a bit pricier, but not by much. It's still perhaps the most iconic, most legendary vehicle in the world, just because it has this amazing V8 engine amazing exhaust, and just a beautiful character. It's more of a grand touring car, less of a performance car like the 911. It also means that I can take this car for a long drive, who knows, maybe down to California from Vancouver, and it will be super comfortable because the ride is really, really good. These Michelin tires are excellent, but the suspension setting is also just amazing. It's just extremely comfortable for supposedly a performance machine. And that's perhaps what makes LC500 unique in its place, because you can drive hard, but you can also drive it like a cruiser almost. And most of all, it's just an amazing design, inside and out, especially the outside. So I hope you enjoy my videos about 24 versus 25 LC500 and how I'm still in love with it, but still hoping that they'll continue to improve and evolve and change it so that it has a little bit more performance flavor to it. Otherwise, it's near perfect. If you enjoyed my video, please give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and if you haven't done so yet, would you kindly subscribe as well. Until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.